Good evening and welcome along to the latest edition of the Endless Celts Podcast. It's the evening after yesterday's result. We've had about around 30 odd hours to kind of dissect things, take things in and try the healing process, I guess, as you call it. But before we kind of get into that, we'll just come to yourself, James. How are you?
I'm not going to say I'm all good because I don't know if that's true, but yesterday was a hard one to take, so as good as can be.
True. And yourself, Gavin? Sorry, I've just taken you as you're trying to munch something quickly there.
I'm not pissed off I've actually brought food onto the podcast. That's a new one for me.
Very unprofessional of you, Gavin.
Breadsticks, By the way, can I just say, you see, for Lent, can I let a full disclaimer for Lent? I never do Lent, okay? And neither am I Catholic. However, I thought I would actually do something for Lent this year. I gave up alcohol and crisps, and I managed alcohol for a full week. Now, I know that a lot of people can do far better than me, but a full week without alcohol, God, I hate to say it, it was a wee bit tough, okay? However, I'm keeping up with the abstaining for crisps, but I'm snacking now on breadsticks. So I've got beer and breadsticks. That's what Monday nights are all about, okay? I can't really shift away the image of me drinking it on a podcast. It seems like a kind of like Gavin and podcast go hand in hand with a beer. So okay, that's what it is. But how am I? I am there. Can I just say one of the positives for the weekend was Newcastle actually winning a cup. I felt that they were long overdue it. I'm happy that Newcastle won a cup, but I'm still quite raging that Celtic shat the bed.
One of my best mates, a massive Newcastle fan. It's one of the ones he's Scottish, but it was his big cousin was a big Newcastle fan as well. So it was just one of them growing up together. He latched on to Newcastle, so I was kind of happy for him, but secretly wind him up and say we hate you. Well, Ross does despise Newcastle, to be honest, and some of us kind of just wind him up just because he supports supports name and Hibs, so you can't really class him as a glory hunter in fairness. So he maybe deserved yesterday a wee bit. But we'll just, before we kind of get in it, just welcome everybody along in the comments and stuff. Tommy55, Patman, Smell the Glove. He's not had alcohol until Christmas, until that bag is yesterday.
Tell me your secret.
Well, didn't watch Celtic the looks of things against Rangers is not a good solution. But if anybody wants to ask it in the comments, not just kind of chuck it in, and we'll see if we can ask the guys. But before we kind of go into the main topic, and we'll try and, as I say, I've done this before. It's totally not stole for open goal. We're calling it the Monday Moan, and it's a pet peeve, Gavin. It can be in football or outside football, just anything that kind of annoys you or has been annoying you, but try and not relate it to the game yesterday, because we know 90 minutes might have annoyed you yesterday.
See, honestly, whenever you actually put people on the spot, they forget it.
I know.
I hate cling film. Cling film should be really, really simple, but it's actually quite complicated sometimes, especially whenever you fuck it up and you try to kind of undo your mistake, and you need to call your wife to help you with it. That's really kind of horrible. Apart from cling film, what else do I hate? I don't know, Franny. Things are tough right now. Things are tough.
Anything that's happened in your life recently? Any pet peeves or that?
Well, I've got Ross to thank again for mine, as so often seems to be the case. But it was last night when he put, was it fact or end of or whatever at the end of his statement. I mean, regardless of how much I actually agreed with him, I still wanted to argue with him as soon as I seen that word at the end. It absolutely does my boxing. That's why.
To be honest, see, with what James is saying, see, whenever you give your opinion, it's kind of like more prevalent on social media. Whenever you give your opinion about something, you write it down and like a tweet or whatever, and then you finish it off with facts. You know what I mean? You're like, fuck up, you little prick. Stop saying facts. You know what I mean? Like, that's my opinion. and you cannot come back with it because I am factual. You're like, shut up. It's just an opinion. Just an opinion. Shut.
Well, we found something, Gavin. We found something. James just triggered something. We found it for you.
Yes.
Fucking childhood memory or something there, I think.
It'll be the harder stuff, and we'll be on the beer.
Can I say one other thing?
When you go for it.
So I've got a group of mates who they're like massive music fans, and I don't know if I'm on my own in this one, but see, whenever like a band comes back together for like a reunion, but one of the main guys in the band is dead, is it really that worth getting excited about? So, for example, Nirvana without Kurt Cobain, they're like touring again, I believe, with like Chris Novoselic and what's his face for the Foo Fighters?
Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl, and they've got a bird singing.
Then Linkin Park.
I loved Nirvana when I was like younger, you know. But without Kurt Cobain, like, it's not Nirvana at all. I loved Alice in Chains, who were a grunge band as well, and the guy died for heroin overdose. The frontman. It's not the same. It's not the same. And then Chester for Linkin Park. The other guy for Soundgarden, whenever they're doing their comebacks, it is not the same. Am I the only person who like doesn't get excited with these bands doing their comebacks? I understand that a band that's one of the most kind of like that's their income for touring, because selling albums nowadays is not what it was back then, and doing tours, that's where you get your money for it, because Spotify and everything since the days of Napster took away the revenue for releasing music. And I totally get that the revenue is now for like touring, but for me, I don't get excited whenever a band is touring and their main guy is dead. I don't get it. I don't find it.
So I'm like that with Linkin Park. I'm not going to pretend to be a big Linkin Park fan, but when they came back with the girl singing, I'm like, it almost makes me think he's just trying to go down a sort of woke kind of narrative. It'll look good. You'll gamble on coming back, but what will maybe get some points in is get folk on board is we'll get a girl. It's a bit edgy. It's a bit different. It's just get a guy. Just get a guy. You had a guy lead singer before. If you're going to make a comeback, get a guy doing it.
For me, it's not about gender. It's about the actual original vocal. But it's a football podcast tonight, man. I'm sorry. That was
Dean Everett, they stopped talking about yesterday.
Yes.
What's that? Oh no, I nearly shared something there about a pet peeve part, man, but I don't think we'll bring that up. I just said they about a pet peeve, but no, it's actually quite good that we've got you two guys on, because obviously you just go to the games. The first thing I want else to talk about is the fans being back. Not what it's more. Both you guys usually have had your season ticket when the old allocation was there. Am I correct? Right. So you would have know what it's like then. But just come to yourself first, Gavin. Did you? I don't know if enjoy is the right term considering the result, but was it good to see? What was it like in the stadium having that level of away fans being at Rangers? I know we obviously Hibs had a lot, about 7,500 the week before, but when it came to the derby, it's been a while since there's been any significant support. So what was it like having them back in, if you like?
Look, I think it was shite. It was horrible. The fact that they got to celebrate 3 goals was horrible. There's no getting away from it. And the fact that they kept their best number 1 song right until the end, and then they hit it with Hello, Hello, We Are the Billy Boys. They kept that right until the end. And it was a bit of a sucker punch, if you want to say it like that. But as you know, I was a season ticket holder back in the 90s, and I remember getting beat by them so often at Parkhead, and my justification was bring it back to the full allocation, and you need to take the good with the bad. So I remember what it was like to get beaten and like come back home and your face is tripping you. But I remember what it was like whenever things did turn round at the turn of the century, and we started beating them at Parkhead. And I remember the great victories and how the jubilation, and being able to see their faces and their silence at Parkhead. So it comes with the good and bad, and just the fact that we get beat this time, it doesn't change the fact that I still want it back to a full allocation. If Franny, we had a chat in a group discussion, and one person said that they did not enjoy the experience of them being back, and you said, well, what would you have changed your opinion if we had won? I know that was a conversation between you and another person, but I agree with that. Like, if we had won, would you really be complaining about the presence of them? Like, they tore up a couple of seats. So fucking what? We would probably do the same. Like, I don't condone that. It's a couple of idiots who do that. I don't know why you would have vandalised that, but you don't need to pass an IQ test to be a Celtic fan or to be a Rangers fan. It comes with the territory. We're going to attract a few bad eggs, and they're going to attract more than the large share of bad eggs. But no. The presence of a few the Rangers fans in the ground did not ruin the experience for me. What ruined the experience for me was the performance of Celtic.
And then I'll kind of come to yourself, James, and I kind of want to tie in the fact that I was reading this morning on Twitter and things like that about both sides. Fans from both sides were kind of kettled into the streets, if you like, and refused it without only going with statements from the North Curve anyway, that they were told, or they weren't told much, they were just kind of herded in and not allowed to move down London Road as they do every game. Yes, maybe sometimes the European nights and derby games, more focal tag onto that just to make it a better looking spectacle. I totally get that. But for some reason or another, they weren't allowed to do that. They were held for over an hour, then suddenly got told. I think the Green Brigade statement said that they had to meet certain criteria, have certain identification, whether that you're a kid or an adult. It was just you were to get a strip search or some obviously that's the second time but information from them. But as I say, Rangers fans, I believe, were in a similar situation where a bunch of them weren't allowed in. I think they're saying it was a section of Union Bears, but that can't be happening. You can't just be refusing guys entering the football, no gain them legit reasons. But then on that, and also what was your experience in having, obviously it's not the full allocation, but having a significant allocation back in?
I think Gav's hit the nail on the head, to be fair, with his points there. I've always been of the opinion as well, we should go back to the full allocation. I think we were actually talking, as Gav says, in the group chat about it as well. I'm actually a wee bit annoyed that we've agreed to a sort of middle ground. For me, it should have always either been back to the way it used to be and have the full allocation, or nothing at all. I don't think there was any space for a middle ground. I don't think there ever needed to be space for a middle ground. But look, I get the argument about them being there, and obviously the way the game went yesterday in terms of how it played out in terms of the goals, it was a kind of gut punch as well. But look, it doesn't matter if there was no Rangers supporters in that ground or there was 5,000 supporters in that ground. I think we would have all walked out just as equally annoyed as we did. I don't think MD's main gripe was with the support or what you were hearing or the rest of it. That kind of comes with the territory. I think we're all kind of big boys and we know what to expect for it now. Know that makes it right, but as I say, it's kind of par for the course. But well, I'd still personally would like to see it go back to the full allocation and the way it used to be. As I say, I'm a wee bit annoyed that we have agreed to a middle ground because I don't think we ever had to agree to it. I know we're kind of covering all ground, but they started it, so I don't understand why we've had to come to an agreement in terms of kind of, as I say, a middle ground, a lesser allocation than the way it was. But in terms of the police yesterday, I didn't know anything about the Green Brigade thing until I get back in the house and I seen it on Twitter. But I don't know if, I'm assuming you'll be the same, Gav, because I know you put a couple of pictures up. The police presence yesterday was absolutely mental. Honest to God, outside the ground, they must have outnumbered the supporters at about 5-1, and that's just like where I sit. Obviously, Gav takes pictures of me. I literally couldn't be further away. I couldn't be further away for the Green Brigade in terms of when I'm getting into my turnstile and that, and even in the walk up to it, the police presence was mental. You would have thought it was a military operation. I never had any hassle with it, don't get me wrong, but just in terms of police vans, motors, and obviously Polish just storming everywhere. It seemed a wee bit OTT, and certainly back in the days when it was the full allocation, there was absolutely nowhere near the amount of police presence as there was yesterday. As I say, I never had any hassle with it. It was just a kind of something that I noticed on the way into the game. And the other thing that I noticed, which I obviously since Nuno was the Green Brigade, was the kettle. I'm assuming that's what it was. It was right at the back of the Emirates. Aye, but when I walked up, like getting into the ground, it was just at the back of the Emirates. I don't know if they'd walked up. It might have been something totally different, to be honest with you. But when we were walking up, we actually thought it was maybe like latecomers to the away end. We thought it was maybe because I think they had a meeting point for 10:30, and then they get took out to the stadium and let in. So we're like, maybe it's a few folk that have turned up late and they're just holding them there until maybe the game kicks off and then they'll let them in or whatnot. I think no, it was the Green Brigade. And the only reason I say that I couldn't tell you if it was a Green Brigade, I couldn't tell you if it was a Union Bears, I couldn't tell you if it was just a group of supporters for either side, is because literally all I could see was yellow high vises. I could not see through it to see a scarf, a strip or whatever, but the police presence, as I say, as much as I didn't have any hassle with it, it was noticeable that there was a absolute ton more of them.
Kenny, before you come in there, Gavin, I think going by what I've read on Twitter, the one at the Emirates was Union Bears members and the Green Brigade were held up where the social club hang as, or supporters club in London Road. But I'm only taking that from Twitter, James. Sorry, Gavin.
No, just from my own experience, I park on London Road, way up in London Road. So I've got a good 20-minute walk to the stadium. But whenever I was walking down London Road, you could see all the meat wagons, all the police cars. There was definitely over 10 police vehicles on London Road on the left-hand side, right outside the Celtic supporters bar. And whenever I actually got right up to it, it was a full kettling. And you had people outside on the other side of the road taking photographs, taking videos and stuff like that. Probably a journalist or two in there, because I've seen a few of the tabloids making their own reports. But the full Green Brigades were kettled within there, and I never knew what the charge was. I was just walking past. I was thinking, maybe there's mitigating circumstances for this, and they're going to get their own police escort to the game whenever something or whatever has been given the green light. But I went to the game. I was there for the entire duration at full-time whistle. I came back. I walked the same way, and the entire same police were in the same formation. The police probably swapped shifts, but the same Green Brigade personnel were still in there. And from the reports that I've read, that nobody was given, like a time to go for a piss or whatever, time to get some water, time to get some food. I know that you might ask what our opinions are on that, whether it's merited or not. But that was the evidence that I saw. They were kettled there. I went to the game, I came back, and they were still kettled. They were probably contained for about 3 hours.
The North Club, I think they're saying it was 5 hours they were kept for in that sort of a kettle, and weren't allowed, like you say, Gavin, food and water and to go to the toilet unless they done certain things. But you can't just be holding folk, like Ian Moss said, you can't just be holding folk because they're part of an ultra group and things like that if they're not really committing any crimes. As I say, I don't go to the games now, but you see them online. I think the Green Brigade generally do walk from the supporters club every game, but especially on European and derby games, they do it anyway.
I've heard the response for Scottish police is that they were held under section 60 of one of the laws or whatever. I don't know what exactly that entails. No. So maybe people can let me know, because I'm not educated about that. But what was the worst? I am no fan at all of that group of people. Okay, I was taking a piss out of it. I'm like, Celtic's finest minds are contained, on London Road. I was taking a piss out of it. But genuinely, what was the worst that they were going to do? They were going to go to the game. assuming that they weren't going to confront the Union Bears, they were going to go to the game. At the very worst, they were going to let off a tifo that they might have had like stuffed in a bag somewhere that somebody was holding on to. Maybe they had some flares. I'm sure they probably had some flares. But what was the worst that they were going to do? I am not a supporter. I'm not a defender of them. I don't associate myself with them whatsoever. The only thing I probably would disagree with in their the statement that they released, they said that they were treated like criminals. What I would say against that is why do you dress up like criminals with your masks and stuff like that? So treated like criminals, but you kind of act like criminals in a way, or you kind of like you wear certain things like you're up to no good. But I'm not a supporter of them. However, I think the Police Scotland overstepped their mark. I think that they were definitely wrong. I think they were definitely wrong. However, I'm not an authority on what Section 60 or whatever it is.
Somebody came in, I think, said it's stop and search. P&L said it's stop and search, but it just seems like they've just used that for any reason. But we'll kind of get into the game, James, and just sort of go into it. As I say, it was another defeat. I know, we'll just wrap it now. But I think when you're coming into this game, any game, but especially off the back of them having a good result Thursday night, they went 120 minutes and went through in penalties. And I'm not going to try and claim they should be fatigued and anything like that, but if you can maybe just make a fast start and get on top of them, they might start feeling a wee bit like a wee energy levels that they might still be running on. It might just feel a wee bit more. But it was Rangers that had. I mean, they weren't, obviously you wouldn't have noticed it, but at the game, obviously the 10 centre just punted it up to the corner and won a shy. Something like what Lennon done in the 2-0 game it was, which I'm totally for. But then there's a long throw and like Ian Crocker went, it's all Rangers pressure here, they're dominating. And you're like, I think that's a bit rich there, mate. But I think the opening 5 minutes, they set the tone, I felt. And it kind of spooked us a wee bit for me.
I thought for the first half it was that way. I thought they dictated absolutely everything. And look, you don't need to have seen the game at Ibrox and also the cup final. You don't need to have seen the games to know how they were going to play, especially having Barry Ferguson in charge. You knew they were going to come out, presses high. I mean, there's a blueprint to beat Celtic. We've seen it. It presses high, be physical, get in our faces. We'll either make our own mistakes, as we've seen in Europe, or we'll basically concede. They'll score as they did. And when they started, the ball went out for a goal kick at one point, and they had two. It would have been Dessers and Cherney. They were in the edge of the 18-yard box, ready to go on their toes, waiting, and the goal kick getting took. And I'm like, right, well, we've just conceded what felt like 100 corners. They're dictating everything for the time being. The blueprint to beat Rangers is, and we've seen it with Queen's Park and umpteen other teams this year, is to sit in. No, I'm not saying go and sit back, but just take the sting out of it. Let them run themselves out for 5 minutes. Don't just try and treat it like any other game, because it isn't any other game. We know what is, and as I say, we tried to do it in the cup final. Look, we won it in penalties, but I think you've kind of, for being honest, we were probably one of the better team on the day. We definitely one of the better team at Ibrox on the day. So why are we then trying to do the exact same thing again and expecting different results? And you could argue it was even a weaker team, obviously missing McGregor and Trusty at the back, and even Scales at the back, who's the backup. But I just couldn't believe how we started. I get trying to impose yourself on the game, but see when you're kind of, it was like we couldn't get up for air in the first couple of minutes. It just felt as if it was a corner at that side. It might have been one at that side and then the goal at the other, but it just felt as if they were constantly up in our kind of the attacking the blokes, and we just couldn't get a break of the ball. Then obviously the goal comes, and you're like, right, let that be a wake up call for us, and it just wasn't. And even when it was still 1-0, I think it was it 1-0 when Hatate has the shot that Butland kind of tips over the bar at full stretch. And the guy next to me turned round, they went, oh, we're coming back into this now. We're looking a lot more dangerous. And I'm sitting, I'm going, mate, I still think they looked the more likely to score. It just felt as if every time they went up the park, we were all over the place. Look, Alistair Johnson, I know we're going to come on to discuss individuals, but amongst a sea of bad performances, Alistair Johnson was by head and shoulders the worst. And it's almost impressive how bad he was. And it was in the first half, and I understand that Kuhn get hooked at half time. I don't think him and Johnson helped each other at all, but just the first kind of 10, 15 minutes, I don't know, it just felt as if we couldn't get up for air and we didn't know how to deal with it. And that is the real concern for me. There was people after the game saying, it doesn't matter, the league's done, we're on for a treble. And for me, I just think that opinion is burying your head so far in the sand. As true as it might be, if that was a one-off game, look, we went to Ibrox under Ange and we get cuffed 3-0, we played the reserves. That was a one-off game. We had bigger fish to fry with a cup final a matter of weeks away. We might have a cup final a matter of weeks away again, but it's no a one-off. We've seen that performance twice in the last 2 games against them, 3 in the last 3 now, obviously. And it really is a cause for concern. There is issues in that squad that need addressed, and they've needed addressed for some time, as I know we're obviously going to come on to discuss as well, but it just feels as if every time we lose a game, or we, obviously, as I say, recently we've played them, it's the same issues that we're talking about time and time again, yet we're never addressing it, and that's where the frustration lies for me, because yesterday, in my opinion, was entirely preventable if we set up slightly different.
I take on a lot of what you said. I think you make a lot of sense. For me, Gavin, I felt watching it, certainly in the pub, that Rangers picked their moments well to press us, and I think defensively throughout the 90 minutes, the back four weren't great, and I include CCV in that. Schmeichel at times, his passing obviously wasn't great and stuff, and that just kind of invites Rangers on, and they can then press maybe a wee bit higher. And I think we've all said it previous that Celtic do struggle against a decent press at times, and like James said, we'd sometimes cause our own problems from that. I don't, maybe it was just at the game, the emotion, James, but certainly in the pub after the first goal, maybe it did feel for that Hatate shot that we were making a wee bit more of a fist, if you like, without really being over the top of them. I'm not going to sit and say we absolutely dominated that first half, because I don't think we did, but it felt like we were being more confident and comfortable on the ball, albeit at the back it just felt dodgy. And I mean, none more so than Schmeichel, Gavin, when I don't know what pass he seen when Cherny caught onto that one and probably should have scored and made it 2-0 then. But
definitely,
even just going on to the second goal as well for them, Carter Vickers, it's hard to really say who to blame, because I think from a Rangers point of view, it's a good goal, the second goal. But it's like Carter Vickers is just nobody's marking. I can't remember who it is. I think it's Raskan that flicks it on. Nobody's marking him, and then nobody's marking Diamandi's standing in the middle of Johnson and Carter Vickers. Now I know Johnson's got somebody in behind him, but the danger's right in front of you. You've got to go and deal with the danger, and stand on him. But equally, Carter Vickers gets caught under it. But I just kind of an overview of the first half, really, anyway, and how you felt Celtic performed in that first half. Touching any goals if you want.
But the first half was tragic. Can I just say, I think we might have skirted over it. See, to my comments earlier on, I think I might have upset a couple of people. See, whenever you wear a mask at a football game, it doesn't make you a criminal. I think I feel like I'm totally bringing it back.
No,
see with the Green Brigade, like, you're not a criminal if you wear a mask at a football game. However, if I'm at a football game, if I'm at Celtic Park and somebody to my left or my right is wearing a mask, I'm going to be suspicious of them. Why the fuck are you wearing a mask? I do not identify with you as a fellow Celtic supporter if you're wearing a mask. I'm not saying you're a criminal. And by the way, on this particular occasion, my sympathy is with the Green Brigade for the way that they were dealt with. Totally sympathise with them, because if Police Scotland choose to treat them that way, then what is preventing Police Scotland from treating me that way tomorrow? And I guess that's something that we should learn from history. We might acquiesce to injustices because it doesn't affect yourself, but whenever it does affect yourself, then then you're up in arms. So I'm totally against the way that Police Scotland treated the Green Brigade on Sunday. My only point was, and it's not the bigger point. The bigger point is how they were treated. However, I don't identify with the Green Brigade and some of their politics and the way that they dress with their masks, their balaclavas. I don't know why people need to dress like that whenever you're going to a football game. I don't identify with that. But the bigger picture is I sympathise with them for the way that they were mistreated by Scotland police. So that was my point. If anybody disagrees with that, then you're more than welcome to vent further in the comments. But just to clarify that, it doesn't make you a criminal for wearing a balaclava or a mask. However, me personally, I would never ever think of going to a football game having to do that. It's not a culture I subscribe to. So that's my preference. It's other people's preferences if they want to do that. So that's a difference of opinion. However, for the first half was a nightmare. It was like death by the kind of the horseshoe style of play that we do. And we've kind of seen it already in this season. We saw it with Bruges, the way that they pressed against us. And it seems like we're not inventive with our style of playing. It seems like if you're going to break that press, then you need to run faster, try harder, make more spaces. The defence didn't have much movement in the midfield to pass to. Engels, Tati and McEwen, they were not mobile enough, not dynamic enough to receive the ball and to turn it around the corner. They were really poor in doing that, and that's why Rangers looked so good in the first half. And it's so frustrating. Like Brendan Rodgers talking about it, he said that he hadn't seen really much change at all in Rangers from Clement to Barry Ferguson. Win, lose, draw, lose, win, lose, draw, lose. It's all right saying that in the press conference, but if you can't deliver on a Parkhead derby day, then what's the fucking point? Barry Ferguson, Barry Ferguson, we were taking a piss out of him, like a man who's got no experience at all in coaching has just done Brendan Rodgers there. And the tactics that we use, we were not flexible in it enough, and we were outdone. We were outdone completely in the first half. We had a couple of chances in the first half, but we didn't convert it. And we made a massive uphill task at half-time with the 2-goal deficit. And it was always going to mean that in the second half, we could do really well in the second half. But if we concede 1 goal, then it could all go to shit. And that's how it kind of panned out.
First half, James, I will not want to gloss over it, but there wasn't much to talk about because even I've not, all I can think is that a Tati shot. I can't really remember much more. Yeah, we had a bit of possession, but for me, it felt like every time they pressed us or went up the park. I thought Rangers' shape was really good, and they contained us really good. And we just, like Gavin was saying, although Roger is changed, what you believe Roger's changing the attack, if you like, doing that horseshoe thing, you've got to move it quicker, especially when Rangers weren't pressing us every time. As I say, they picked their moments to press us. It was almost like they had triggers and stuff, which I suppose you've kind of got to commend them for it. And I kind of felt their 5 at the back might have suited us, but I just, like you touched on, Johnson and Kuhn both having a poor game, and that's your whole right-hand side wiped at the game, which is no ideal. But we get into the second half and Rodgers makes a change. It's almost one where you can maybe chuck a hat up and pick a name out of the hat, and anything was got to be better than anything. Obviously, Kuhn was the obvious one to get Ada on the park, put my head out left to maybe try and utilise his pace. And if we were ever got to get back in this game, he did need that early goal, and we duly got that early goal.
Look, the sub at half time, I was going to say how Alistair Johnson stayed on for the second half was beyond me, but it's not really. I think the kind of obvious answer is that we don't realistically fancy his backup to do much better. That might be harsh, but that's what I think. The Kuhn one, as you say, it honestly could have been probably 1 out of 10. I'd maybe give pass marks to Nawrocki. I thought he was all right. He was definitely the best of the back 4 for me, and probably Maeda just being Maida, running about, gets his goal and the rest of it. But honestly, apart from that, it could have been names out of hat to see who came off. Our plan B for the second half seemed to be to get it up to Adamida where he's back to goal and try and hold it in. And I don't know how many times we need to see Adamida trying to hold the ball in before it's going to click that he's no that type of striker. He's no a hold it up and play off striker. I mean, you think back to last season when he came in and he had such a great impact towards us basically winning a double. How many of the games did we bring him on in that kind of hold the ball up and bring others into play role? See, this season, my overriding memory, Adamida, it's him no far off the halfway line, where he's back to goal, trying to trap a ball, and he kicks it about 10 yards in front of himself, and then he's chasing after it. And I don't know how many times we need to see that before that it's the penny's going to drop that he isn't that guy. He's not going to be that guy for us. He made a great impact coming in last year, almost playing a kind of a similar role to Kyogo in a sense, but trying to get in behind, playing in the front foot. Obviously, a wee bit more physical, scoring headers and things like that. But I just don't see Adamida as this kind of target man type. We done it in Atalanta, and it worked. It worked. Obviously, we got a result there, but I just, as I said, my overriding memory I had Adamida even yesterday. It's just trying to bring the ball out the sky, out the halfway line, and it's as if he's got fucking trampolines in his boots and they're flying away from him. And it's not even necessarily his fault. It's obviously the role that he's been asked to play. And it's the kind of similar thing, as I've said in the past, with Callum McGregor, in the sense that I don't think he's a holding midfielder. Certainly no to be the only one of the three with the other two in front of him. But we seem to be just, it's almost like square pegs and round holes. It just doesn't work. And 9 times out of 10 domestically, we will get away with it. Look, we've been good in Europe. Obviously, it doesn't take the gloss off that. But as I said before, there is a blueprint there to beat Celtic. The second half was better. It couldn't have been any worse. It would have been freaking hard for it not to be better.
It's been hard to be any worse.
But I mean, you get the goal early, which is ideal. Obviously, perfect start, and you're thinking, right, and for a wee 10 minutes after it, right, we're back at it here. And then there was a kind of a noticeable drop off. I felt again. It was nowhere near as bad as the first half, but there was a bit of a drop off in intensity. And then we score again and we go 2 each. And I'm looking up at the clock and going, there's still 15, 20 minutes left here. Realistically, there should only be one team going on and running this for this point. And at that point, we were having a lot of play. We didn't necessarily have loads of chances. I can think of a couple that we maybe dragged past the post, but we were getting into the positions. And I remember one, it was Schlupp running onto the ball, should have shot and he passed. There was a couple where I think it was McCowan hit the ball at the edge of the box. We just seemed so determined. It was nearly like when you were a wee guy and you used to be out in the park playing cuppies and it was always you had to pass the ball 3 times before you scored. That was almost what it felt like. You're like, just going to shoot. And then obviously we didn't. And I've not even watched the game back, watched the goals back. I've not brung myself to do it. I know Alistair Johnson fell in his arse and then sitting in the ground for the third goal. I don't know who it was, if it was Carter Vickers, Nawrocki, Schlupp or whoever it was, but it just felt as if that Igamani must have jinked in and out about 50 times and then gets the shot away into the goal. I could be talking absolute rubbish, as I say, I've not brought myself to watch it back yet, but it just felt as if that third goal was entirely preventable. It almost felt comfortable, and then just in an instant, it all went to shit again. And look, there was still time left for us. The way the second half was gone, even after they scored, including injury time, there must have been a good 8-10 minutes left. And just at that point, you just totally felt defeated. You didn't see it coming. You could see where the body language were all kind of down at their hands and knees and stuff. And it wasn't a great look. And just frustrating overall. And as I say, I think it was entirely preventable. But very, very frustrating.
It was a frustrating. That's one of my big things to the second half as well. Gavin and James touched on it there. Obviously, you get that early goal. What you're wanting is a bit of belief that you can pull this one back, and you get the early goal within minutes. It's obviously Maeda again just comes up with the goods, and then as I say, Luke McCowan had a chance where he kind of drags it. Wasn't a clear-cut chance, but between that and the Hatate goal, I think the Hatate goal was 70-odd minutes. So you're scoring, I think, the 47th minute, and you get it level on around about the 70th minute. And I mean, Rangers obviously in the second half kind of sat in a wee bit and asked us to break them down. So we had a lot of the ball, Gavin, but even when we scored that second goal, I just don't think we asked enough questions of Rangers.
Yeah, even before that in the first half, Maida had a great chance. He headed it from a cross, and it was Sterling who cleared it off the line. But going into the second half, you were thinking. I was talking to a few friends at half time, and they were saying like if we don't get a goal within half an hour, they were going to piss off. And I was telling them, well, Rangers were in the same position at Ibrox. But a year ago, whenever we were 2-0 up at Ibrox, they brought it back to 2 each, and then it went to 3-2, then 3 each. So I was kind of throwing that kind of parallel to them. And we did the same. We brought it to 2 each, but it didn't work out the way it was. But I think there was a fight back from Celtic in the second half, but it wasn't a sustained fight back from 45 to 90 minutes. It was for a period, but it wasn't sustained, and that was probably our downfall. And I think that even in the first half, a lot of our players were looking around at each other to saying who's going to bring us out of this slump right now. They were looking for leaders. And that's not a slight on Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's a defender and he does what he does. But I felt that we needed somebody in the middle of the front to really dig us out of it. And they didn't. Alistair Johnson, who's a massive, massive influential player for us, a lot of our play comes down the right wing. And AJ had one of his most miserable games ever as a Celtic player. And you never saw it coming, but it happened, and it was miserable to witness. Some I don't want to call him a clown. Some guy said in the comments there. So if Arnie Engels is worth 11, he's a Rangers fan in the comments. He said if Arnie Engels is worth 11 million, then how much is Raskin worth? Well, Raskin has already been there for what, 2 seasons now, and he was already ghosted out by Clement. And now he's brought back in now. So you tell me that kind of sums up Rangers in its own way. They can beat us on their day, but do it over a consistent period. If Raskin was to do it over a consistent period, then we can value him. But unless Raskin is able to do that, then we can't really value him, you know. So consistency is a massive, massive thing in football valuations. But the second half was horrible because you had that belief that we're coming back. We brought it back to 2 each, and you genuinely thought that we were on the ascendancy. And then obviously we had a calamitous error with Cameron Carter-Vickers and Alistair Johnson, which led to the Igamani goal, and the finish itself was aesthetically pleasing to Rangers' eyes, right in at the top corner, but it was like the death knell to us. And you're raging, but this isn't a one-off incident. It's a pattern of behaviour. James spoke about it at the start of the podcast. It is a pattern of behaviour. We have played Rangers 4 times this season. We beat them 3-0 at Parkhead.
Yeah.
But then we get beat 3-0 at Ibrox, and we also had the cup final, which I think, if we're being honest, like, yes, we won it, and that's what the history books will tell us, that we won it. But over the pattern of play, it was entirely uncomfortable for Celtic. And Brendan Rodgers has not learned from that cup final. He's not learned from it. We get battered at Ibrox 3-0, which is entirely unacceptable. And now we've get beaten on our own patch. So I think we need to address it. And when people talk about who takes the blame, the players or the manager, well, everybody takes the blame. But Brendan Rodgers, the buck stops with him. Now, yes, we're on course for the treble. And again, if you're talking about the history books, then yeah, we're going to probably collect all 3. Maybe 2 out of 3, maybe 3 out of 3. But not being able to beat your closest rivals, that's really, really worrying, because if they change something where they beat the people that they should be beating, then they'll become a totally different force because they don't fear us anymore. They do not fear us anymore. And can I just make this point, okay? Because whenever you're on a Celtic podcast, you get me. For me, I wanted to do a bit of homework about this. Now, if I was to ask you, if you were to aggregate the goals scored for Celtic and for Rangers over the past 3 years, would you be surprised at this? Okay. Over the past 3 years, including league and cup competitions, over the past 3 years, so that's 2 Brendan Rodgers seasons, this season, last season, and Ange season, 3 seasons, okay? Celtic have scored 29 goals against Rangers. Rangers have scored 22 goals. That is a thin margin. Now, over the course of 4 years, it's a wee bit wider. 36 for Celtic, 27 for Rangers. But in the last 3 seasons, 29 for Celtic, 22 for Rangers. Now, we're going into games like this and we're looking at it like, well, we're 16 points ahead of them. We should be scudding them. But it doesn't happen like that. It's very marginal. Rangers' problem is not us. The problem that Rangers have is the rest of the league, the rest of the teams. If they sort out their hoodoo with them, then they'll be a much better team. But we need to recognise that we are no longer the gangster in these type of derbies. It's very marginal games, draws, marginal wins, marginal defeats. And let's not forget that we fucking get scudded 3-0 earlier on this season. We're not cruising to victories anymore. So whenever we go into these games and you're saying is it going to be a comfortable 3-0, 4-0, fuck all, it's not going to be like that. We need to recognise that out of fucking Barry Ferguson and Clement, 2 different managers who were making fun of Barry Ferguson, were making fun of Clement, but we've not got the hold over them, even though in the league scale we're far better than them. So if they sort out their wee hoodoo, as I said, then they're going to be a far greater team. And we need to get rid of this superiority complex, and we need to go back to the basics of why we're not beating them in the derbies. If we do not recognise that, if we need to get rid of our ego in these games, if we cannot recognise the fact that we're not the better team in these games, then it's going to catch up with us.
Scott Miller, who I think is a Rangers fan, saying he got next year Celtic are in for a rude awakening. Rangers only need 4 good players, which maybe is true, but
that's a silly one.
That's assuming Celtic didn't do anything, isn't it? It's assuming
exactly.
Celtic didn't do anything.
Rangers have been saying that for years and years and years. Where are you going to get the money for 4 good players? And again, if Celtic make really good, educated signings on 4 good players, then it tips the scales in our favour as well. So I get what you're saying, but that's a flimsy statement.
I know, but no, it's true. I mean, I think it was Stephen put it on the chat, and I've seen a lot of folk online in that, James, as well, saying Rodgers has been schooled in his last 3 games against Rangers. Don't know if I don't totally subscribe to that. Yes, he obviously got schooled in the 3. There's an argument for the 3-0 game at Ibrox. Obviously, that's a fair argument to say he got schooled there, or out-coached was the term I've been seeing. The 3-3 game, I wouldn't say he got out-coached. I think we caused a lot of our own problems. Yesterday, first half, you could argue we got out-coached, and you could argue it was a draw, essentially, when you look basically on the second half, without proper pepper in their goal, if you like. I think for me, Gavin obviously touching it there, the issue I have, what's more concerning is it's the last 3 games against Rangers, we've conceded 3 goals in every game. That's the issue I've got with it.
Exactly. Look, I think as well, the 3 each thing, you've got to take it into context. The 3 each game was a must-win game for Rangers. For Celtic, that was a must-not-lose game. Mm-hmm. They scored with the last kick of the ball to make it 3 each. On the day, it's a gut punch, but and I've on here saying it in the past, that 3 each game, even after the game, as gutted as I was that they'd scored, coming out of Ibrox that day, I'm like, right, that's us, we're going to win the league. And that was the first time that season that I was confident to say that Celtic were going to win the league. So I think the context is a bit important for that one. regards to the cup final, I don't know if you can really say you get schooled in a cup final when you get a winner's red medal around your neck at the end of it. There was warning signs there, admittedly, but the last two games, I think, as I said before, if you're coming out of the game yesterday saying, we're on for a treble, it doesn't matter, I think that's burying your head in the sand. We done it under Ange, went to Ibrox, get bet 3-0. That was a one-off, fair enough. But this isn't a one-off. And as I said earlier, for me, I think there is a clear blueprint in how to beat Celtic. And I don't think we've got the players there to combat it. The issues for me, and I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent and it's been done to death. The issue for me, look, Johnson was terrible yesterday. There was terrible performances all over the park. But for me, in games we go into like this, the main issue always stems for the midfield. And I've seen people saying it would be different if McGregor was in there. Maybe it would have been a wee bit different, but we've seen McGregor in there as well and getting overrun in the middle of the park. So I don't know if it would have made that much of a difference, if I'm being totally honest. I just think, and again, covering all ground, I've said that before, every single midfielder we have, including Callum McGregor, they're too similar. They all want to do the same thing. We don't have an out-and-out hodding midfielder that's going to fucking tackle their granny, and we've no got an out-and-out number 10 that's going to sit in there in that kind of Tom Rogic sort of Chris Commons type role and just sitting behind the striker and look to set stuff up in an attacking sense. I don't think we have that. We maybe try and kind of shoehorn players into certain positions. For his full Celtic career, I've said McGregor isn't a holding midfielder. I still maintain he's better as a kind of box-to-box type, regardless of how many times I'm told his legs are gone, he plays too much Fitbit, and I get all that. But for me, McGregor still plays his best Fitbit on the forward fit. I think in the summer, and as I said in the chat yesterday, the absolute necessity is a striker, obviously, but also this time, and it's something that we've neglected for years and years and years, is to go and sign a big bastard for the middle of the park. Just somebody, a destroyer. It doesn't matter that he can't run forward or whatever, but for the type of games yesterday, it just feels such a glaring omission for the team. We go into these games and we get absolutely bullied yesterday. Rangers dictated everything. Fuck, they were even dictating where we were taking our shies for in terms of time wasting, just absolutely everything. The dark arts are fit, but they absolutely dictated
completely. James, see the dark arts and see their ability to make those silly niggling fouls that don't merit a yellow card. But at one point, Luke McCowan had the ball. He received it from a defender. He turned. Raskin was behind him. He turned Raskin, and he was powering on. Raskin pulled him back, and it was just a free kick. Just a free kick, not a yellow card. And it was those small niggly fouls that win people games. It's that wins teams games whenever you perfect those dark arts. And James, you're right. Rangers are very good at that, and we are not good at that. We're too honest. We're far too honest, and that's why I think that Rangers have more physical players. And we were talking about that in the group chat. Rangers have got more physical players. We have got more honest technical players. And whenever we're not on our game from a technical level, we get bested by sheer physicality. And I think that's what happens at Parkhead, and that's what happens at Ibrox. Whenever we're not on our game from a technical perspective, we just get run over. And Cal McGregor, you're right. Cal McGregor, he's good when he's on the ball, but whenever he's off the ball and he's having to manage other things, he gets found out. And that's not a slagging on him. He's good at what he does, but he's very bad at what he doesn't manage to achieve. And we don't have anybody. Arnie Engels played in the number 6. I was looking forward to how we would play. Like I was fearful of the fact that McGregor will not be playing the game, but I was a wee bit excited of how we will acquit ourselves with McCowan, Engels, Hatate. Engels played the number 6, and he didn't impress me. It didn't impress me, and I've been a big fan of. I think emotionally, I've been kind of like a supporter of Engels. I've been emotionally like saying that he's a big player for us. I'm going to have to take a wee step back. about Engels. I'm not trying to focus at all about Engels right now, but he didn't impress me. And this was one of the games that he should have carried the can. He should have carried the can. And I felt that he was just looking around, just like everybody else, looking around for somebody else to take control, to show a bit of leadership. And I think they all kind of failed in that regard.
Aye, 100%, and it's the same for me. Look, I'm probably Engels' biggest fan, as you know, but like yesterday, and look, it's something I've said umpteen times before. I think it's probably harsh to hold his transfer fee on him, as we've said umpteen times. The players don't set the transfer fee, but even myself, yesterday, I'm getting into that game and thinking, right, you're missing your captain. Engels is seemed to hit a bit of decent form. £11 million, you know what I mean? Even I'm thinking, I'm like, right, these are the games where you want him to take the game by the scruff of the neck. And look, I was going to say, I don't think he had a bad game. He did, if I'm being honest. He did have a bad game. He definitely wasn't the worst in the park. But again, and they were talking about it in the radio as well, and the way back in the motor, that was meant to be Engels' position, was a holding midfielder when he was playing in Germany. And for me, when we've done it in Europe, look, we've done it in Dortmund, and we had McGregor sitting as the sitter, and then we had Engels and Hatate in pretty much different postcodes further up the park, and they just ran through the mid-lays. We then kind of swapped it, and we played Engels beside McGregor. So I was kind of expecting maybe to see that, maybe have McCowan or Hatate sitting beside Engels, just to show it up a bit in the middle of the park in the absence of McGregor, and obviously Bernardo as well. But we didn't. It just seemed to be in the midfield, for me at least. I don't think anybody really knew what they were doing. It just felt as if they were kind of almost getting in each other's way. I don't think there was any set kind of almost like tactics or formation to it. It just seemed to be there. But look, as I say, for me, that's where our main issue stems from. Every game like this we get into, we never lose a game. You never come out of a game going, we're a wee bit unlucky there, but they probably deserved it. We always seem to get absolutely horsed, even if it's a close scoreline. It always seems to be a one-sided game in terms of play. And for me, all the issues for that, it just stems from the middle of the park. It's such an issue that's needed addressed for ages. I've said it on here umpteen times as well. And I feel it's getting to the point now where it can't be ignored any longer. We need to go out and do that in the summer. I think we should have done it in January. I think we should have done it last summer. But it's becoming inexcusable that we haven't done it.
Franny, I think that we were running out of ideas, playing out for the back. I felt that Rangers were congesting all the kind of like the passages of play. Like whenever you look at our pattern of how we pass the ball out, Rangers had it all covered. Like, I know that none of us are tacticians, but what would you like to see Celtic do? Like, it's entirely predictable how we play out from the back. So whenever you've got a team like that, Rangers who went like 3 at the back, like 2 wing backs, blah blah blah. How would you like to see Celtic kind of counter that whenever you're blocked in, when you can't pass it out, when it's like telegraphed, every single pass is telegraphed? Do you think that the right pass would have been either like coming on as a centre forward and like try to hold it up? But as James said, like, you've got the problem where he's not really the best at holding it up. Like, do you think that we're just getting stifled and that we don't have a plan B for this? Or do you think that Rodgers is, either way, we don't have a plan B, or Rodgers is too kind of like proud to change the formation, change the way that we play out from the back? We just seem to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And
I suppose you can carry...
What's your answer?
No, there wasn't. And I suppose on one hand you could commend him for sticking to his guns. I wouldn't like it. I don't think it's this, if plan A doesn't work, do plan A better. I don't think he's that type of guy. I do think he does try and change it, whether that be with personnel or there will be shapes or tactical things that we, as you said, we're no tactical genius, we just won't notice. But certainly that 3 at the back, that's obviously Rangers would have been 5 at the back from a defensive point of view. I thought it might have suited us a bit better, because if we can keep the game wide, obviously we spoke about, and I've done it in the past, the relationship between Kuhn and Alistair Johnson down that right-hand side, with the underlapping and overlapping runs for Alistair Johnson. It can, with that being a back 3, the centre half maybe gets pulled out of position, and that's where we could expose them. Obviously, the relevant wing back would be tucking in as well, but sometimes it could maybe get a wee bit congested and spaces will open up. So I thought it was a wee bit playing into our hands, but like you say, we just for me, we never moved it quick enough. And then when we are, a lot of times, Coonan and Jota and that, we're always getting it with our back to goal, running towards the Celtic defence, if you like. Sometimes, and that's not just yesterday's game, it's happened in the last couple of games against them. And sometimes for me, I'm just thinking, like say, he does not one for holding it up, but you could maybe ask him to run the channels or have your Maedas run the channels. Just put it over the top, get a defence, get the defending team turning the opposite way. Yes, you might be put, they might put it out for a shy and things like that, but you're getting yourself maybe 40, 50 yards up the park, if nothing else, and giving your defence a wee break, and you can maybe work from there. So for me, I would have just liked to see us to try and just turn their defence a wee bit more, because you hear it for schoolboy, like a defender does not like running back to goal, and we all commend Maeda's pace and his pressing. When he went out to the left, that's maybe what he just wanted for Sloop, maybe in the off, just put one in the corner for him to chase. And like I say, even if he gives away a foul down at it, he's on the Rangers defender at the time, just try and just upset them. But like I say, I thought we dominated the majority of that second half. I certainly got that feel watching it on the telly without really battering them, if you like, without really going, right, chance after chance. Although after we got the second goal, I felt there was only one team going on to win it. But then you obviously go on to that third goal. It was CCV for me. Look, I say I'm similar to James. I've not watched the replays, but certainly watched it. It looked like he ducked out the initial header, which is absolutely criminal if he has done that. Alistair Johnson then has a weak attempt to try and win the ball back off Ngamane. And if fairness to Ngamane, puts one of the top bins. There's sometimes you've got to put your hands up and go, there's not much you can do about the strike, but there was things before it that could have maybe prevented it. But for me, just to kind of answer, I would have just sounds amateur and sounds silly, but just put the ball up the line and get them turned, Gavin. See, try and play off maybe shies or second balls or whatever.
James, can I ask you, without hogging the limelight for Ferrani, who's obviously hosting?
Oh, it's all right, mate. Sorry.
Can I just ask, what have we learned for the past 3 games now? And I guess one point Roger spoke about, he wants more personality from the Celtic players. Now, another point that you've made repeatedly on our podcast is physicality. Now, the amount of times that we would hear people say we need a Wanyama type of player in the Celtic midfield, if we heard that, would be a billionaire. I hate to say it. It's boring to hear it. However, and you were speaking about it earlier on, but I don't want a butcher who can't kick a fucking ball. You need to be able to do a bit of both, because sometimes, we went to Rangers. I'm looking at the past fixtures, okay? When we went to Rangers in the past 4 years, because I made a deliberate point in making out all the results to aggregate all the scores over the past 4 years. And there's been numerous times where we went to Ibrox and it's been cagey as fuck. We've been nervous as fuck, skittish as fuck, but we still got the result. And sometimes it's always been about relying on your technical players, trusting in their ability and eking out that win. And we've not needed that Wanyama type of player to do that. And that's over the past 4 years, okay? So that data is there. So why is it now that over the course of Ange's 2 years, where we never had any Wanyama type of player, and why is it now when we're in the second year of a Brendan Rodgers tenure, where we still haven't had that physical player? Just, if you want to remark that Cal McGregor is just getting that little bit older and older and older, but you're still managing these games out. So if we were to kind of make that observation, why are we still saying that we need the kind of, is James still there, or is James dead?
I don't know.
You hear me?
Yeah. I see. Remove this one. Somehow you had to.
Sorry, James. Sorry, I thought we had a wee Wi-Fi there. Sorry, James. I was kind of making a point that over the course of the years, we have still eked out results in Ibrox whenever we've had to trust upon our technical players against like your kind of physical players like Lundstrom and that sort of thing. So why have we been able to do it over a course of a period of years, but we're still saying that we need a physical player? What's your thoughts on that? Why do we still say that we need it?
But mate, for me, even in those games where it has been a lot more comfortable, I mean, obviously we've been doing this a couple of years now. Well, certainly for myself anyway. I know you've been doing it a bit longer, but the full time it's something that I've said. Even when we've been playing well and winning, it's maybe not so much for domestically, but certainly for Europe, it's something that's always been a pressing issue. Look, I think Brendan Rodgers. I know we're saying that Plan B maybe isn't the Plan A better, but I honestly think there is a bit of that in there. For me, his Plan B is to stick Ida on, and as I say, try and play him as a target man, try and introduce that physicality, which isn't Ida's game. And it's becoming very apparent, and that's why the questions are getting raised about his price tag, and rightly so at this point. But I just think you look at the best teams in the world, like Man City, Rodri, had Casemiro in there for years. Barcelona had Busquets. They've all got that kind of player in there, and obviously, look, we're never going to get a caliber of that player. But you think back, like obviously when Yama was a fantastic player for us, and he could do both, like you say. He wasn't just a butcher in there to kick people. He could play a bit, scored a fair few goals. I always think of the one he scored against Hearts, an absolute belter into the top corner, but he could also mix it up, and he was a set piece threat as well. Then we had obviously Scott Brown here for years as well, who maybe slightly dealt with it in a slightly different way. He could definitely be that physical presence. He wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but he made up for it in other areas. He was kind of doing that role as well. And since he's went away, we don't really have that. As I say, even I mean, you's no better than them. I've always said, I still maintain it. Callum McGregor is never a holding midfielder. And the fact that we've had, well, Rodgers twice and Ange and Lennon in the interim, trying to play him in that position, I just don't get it. I mean, we've seen it for a spell at the start of the season where he was banging in the goals almost week in, week out. Scored a cracker against Rangers in the 3-0 game. Callum McGregor's best football is played going forward. So the fact that we try and kind of tie him down to this holding midfield role, and this isn't me having a go at McGregor and saying he's a bad player. McGregor obviously is a fantastic player, and he's been a fantastic player for Celtic. But I just feel...
James, sorry to interrupt you, but do you think that Callum McGregor's like 31 right now? So over the course of his career, can I ask you, do you think that Callum McGregor is a misunderstood football player? Whenever you talk about one of the largest successes that he's enjoyed with Celtic, he's been in a position where he's maybe not best suited to. Would you say that?
I think so to an extent, aye, because when you think when he first broke into the team, was it Reykjavik where he got his debut under Ronnie Dyer? He was playing off the wing at that point, and then he became that kind of number 10 role, and then gradually worked his way down to playing holding midfield. And for me, as I've obviously said umpteen times now, he is never a holding midfielder. I think he plays his best stuff going forward. And I think if we went out and signed, as I said to you in the group chat yesterday, if we went out in the summer and just signed an out-and-out holding midfielder and stuck him in there, and then let Bernardo, Hatate, McGregor, Engels, let the rest of them, McCowan, let them fight it out for the other two positions. Realistically, other players are going to be away. There's probably not going to be that many. But I would much rather see McGregor playing as I hate talking number 8, number 10 and all that, but in that kind of number 8 kind of box to box, so I'd much rather see that as opposed to have him sitting the deepest of the three. And it's been exposed time and time again, and I know we've done well in Europe this season, barring the Dortmund game, but even thinking back to other kind of horsings that we've took in Europe, if we're being honest, McGregor's been present in that position for a lot of them. And I think we've seen a marked improvement when we put somebody in there to help him, beside him, to stay in there and break up the play, like we've done with Engels and like Munich and basically every game since Dortmund we've done it. But I think that's it in the comments there. For me, Callum McGregor's a much more creative player than he is in a kind of interrupter one in the middle of the park. I don't feel we're playing him to his strength. I think he does that role fine domestically and we get away with it a lot of the time. But it's when we step up, he either needs to play one forward or he needs somebody in there to help him out with the kind of the donkey work, so to speak.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Fran, I don't need to take this away from you, but see, whenever you think of Paul McStay was a 4-4-2 man, and you would never ever have said that Paul McStay was played in the wrong position in a 4-4-2. And then Scott Brown, if we were to think about another kind of legendary, iconic Celtic captain, he kind of played in a 4-2-3-1, and you would never ever have said that he was played in the wrong position. You know, like box to box whenever he was younger, but later on he kind of played more reserved. But you would never ever have said he was played in the wrong position, and that's why we never got the best out of him. But Callum McGregor, we've had a lot of success under him, but we're now in a unique position. We play a 4-3-3, where historically, like 90s, we never played in a 4-3-3. 2000s, 2010s, I don't know. But now we're playing a 4-3-3. I think, I don't know, you're going back to Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers, first time 4-2-3-1. Again, you don't want to get bogged down in a formation. But Franny, what do you think? Do you think Cal McGregor is now in his kind of senior years? Do you think he's been misused in this particular formation?
I think so, because I think we've all said we need that proper number 6, and like James touched on it, we are getting away with it, I think, in domestically and the main, because we're generally controlling a lot of games and on the front foot. So although he's maybe formation wise he's taking up that number 6 position, but he's not really playing that. But like James said earlier as well, I don't know if Callum McGregor would have really changed much yesterday. You just don't know. It's a big hypothetical. It's an easy one to say that he would have made a difference. It might well have done, because I think it looked like Diamonde was marking Engels out the game. And as much as I'm a big fan of Engels as well, it felt a wee bit that it didn't go looking for the ball at times and stuff. It felt like, I'm not saying taking the easy option out, but it just didn't seem he was doing enough to try and create that space, where I feel like Callum McGregor will maybe just drop deeper and deeper, or he'll just take up rogue positions just to get away from the marker or free space up for somebody else. I mean, you can be man-marked, but you could just go and find yourself in stupid places in the park and all. Maybe just open up spaces elsewhere. So I don't know if McGregor would have made a difference, but I do think at times like this, it does feel like he's getting misused. He's not got, like, none of us are sitting slating Callum McGregor. I think he's a top player. It's just he's not got the physicality when needed for these games, when you're maybe a bit under the cost that you can, like I say, then like when you just need somebody to put the foot and just get on top of it and just hold the ball in, even if take it in stupid positions where you're maybe only 30 yards out, but you can hold guys off without having to instantly try and pop it off and make a difficult pass, maybe draw a foul. It just, I think there is an argument to say he is getting misused, Gavin. I thought you were going to come back with something else, but what we can go on is
Lennon Miller. Last question for me, and I will shut the fuck up, Franny. I'm so sorry.
No.
Is Lennon Miller the heir to the number 6 role, or is Arnie Engels?
I would say we need to. Well, if Arnie Engels played it, I'm not going to write Arnie Engels off as a number 6 based on one game.
James,
I think that'd be foolish, but Lennon Miller could be, but I don't know. It's a bold statement for an 18-year-old laddie.
I don't know, mate. I'm not going to say aye or no, because the honest answer is I've not seen enough of Lennon Miller to make a kind of fair assumption.
I'd be basing it off like Halliday and all that on open goal. They seem to think he's good in the number 6 position, but I think
Halliday wants us to shell out 14 million on Lennon Miller
Lennon
because
Miller.
he's talking shit. He's like a fucking gypsy. He's just ramping it up.
I know. But just one wee thing I wanted to talk about was folk reminded me in the comments, and I'm not saying I forgot about it, but for me personally, I thought it was a nothing instant in the sense that I don't think too much needs to get made about it. James, Czerny celebrating and spraying the Celtic fans with water bottles again. He shouldn't do it. Let's be honest, he shouldn't do it, but he's maybe just been caught up in the moment. It's just a bit of water at the end of the day. I don't think it's anything we need to go overboard with. Again, the fans reacting to it, I've kind of not got an issue, but some of them, again, should think you didn't need to get too carried away. I don't think it's something that needs to get made a big deal of, is it?
Mate, I actually found out about that earlier on this afternoon. I seen all this stuff about water, and I had no idea, and then I seen the video. As you say, it's basically Lustig with a Polish hat reversed in it. It's kind of similar ideas. They all lap up. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't fucking mean a lot of anything. I mean, look, as I said to my mate yesterday that sent me it, hopefully come a few weeks' time, we'll be celebrating with 3 winners' medals on our neck. We'll not be celebrating Salting folk with water. I mean, it's the smallest of small victories. They'll have their day. Fair play. They were the better team. But look, the season's only won 2 or 3 games. They've won all the length of the season. So, I would much rather 3 winner medals in the cabinet than a half-empty bottle of water because you've sprayed it or somebody. So, a non-event and absolutely nothing in it for me.
And what's your opinion on Watergate 2.0, if you like, Gavin?
Who's the snitch? Give me a beer. I've actually got 2 beer here.
Virtually give him one.
Mate, see if you're actually getting wound up by that. You're playing into their hands. Like it's Watergate. Fuck. It's not worth talking about. We lost. And by the way, I said that in the group chat. Maybe some people might disagree with me, but I think on the whole, Rangers deserved it. And
I disagree with you there, but I mean, the first half they were the better team, but I think second half we were the better team. But
no, we were the better team in the second half, but we left such a deficit that we were vulnerable. That 1 goal we could bring ourselves back to 2 each, and we're all excited about getting that winner, but we're still vulnerable. We concede 1 goal and we've lost the game. I felt we were horrendous in the first half. Rangers, we played into Rangers' hands, okay? We played into Rangers' hands, and for me, Rangers scored 3 goals. We only scored 2 goals, and Rangers won the game. They deserved the game, and they made brilliant little fouls that we would be proud of, but we're not cute enough to do it. And that's how the game panned out. And we've not learned a fucking lesson. It's 3 games right now that Rangers have kind of made their mark on us. And Brendan Rodgers, for all his cuteness, for all his egotism, he's not responded to it. And one of our best players, Kuhn, who was player of the season for the first half of the season, he was a shadow of himself. So no, I think that's another kind of question. Who do you think deserved it? But for me, I think Rangers deserved it. I've got no qualms with that at all.
I think you're kidding yourself on, mate, if you don't think that's the case. I mean, if we're being totally honest, we should have been dead and buried for half time yesterday. How that Czerny doesn't score that fish Michael. I mean, they're coming out in the second half 2-0 up. Do you know what I mean? They've done their job, so to speak. So they're always going to kind of sit back a bit. They were never going to play the same way in the second half. Maybe they would if it was nothing each and we'd held on or whatever. But they deserved it. They were a better team yesterday. As I say, they done the damage in the first half, sat in a bit for the second, and like as we said earlier, we had a couple of chances. Obviously, scored a couple of goals, but is there really anything that you can point to apart from that? A couple of shots dragged wide. Johnson will be classing that as a chance at the end. For what I've seen, it was
I think he should score that.
Chance.
I think he should score that. It's maybe the wrong guy, but I think he should score it.
As I say, I've honestly not seen anything at all back in terms of highlights for the game, but I just thought it was kind of bouncing. I'd need to see it back. I thought it was maybe a half chance, but I think they deserved it. If we're being totally honest, as I say, we should have been dead and buried at half time. They've missed an absolute sitter. What I would never understand why that Journey doesn't not even hit it first time, but take a touch and then hit it. I don't understand why he lets everybody basically get back, including Schmeichel.
Schmeichel was in no man's land. He's
just no confident on his right foot. That's pretty much what it is.
I know, and we'll kind of come back at you, James. Obviously, off the back at everybody's very emotional, especially online these days and things like that. And just certain things can get said online, and it's just one of these things. It's the way people will vent their opinion. What I did like what you've touched on, and I kind of noticed it in the pub yesterday. There wasn't many folk in the pub came in going, "Oh well, we're 13 points clear. We're due to win a treble, or a couple of games away for a potential treble." And that, because like you say, it's saying that is like a coping mechanism, just making an excuse for another bad day at the office. Like, it's the 3-0 game at Ibrox, you can almost get away with saying it then, because you can claim it's a bit of an anomaly, whereas yesterday proved, well, it probably isn't an anomaly, that kind of performance, because I've went and repeated it at Parkhead this time. So I'm quite glad the majority of Celtic fans that I've seen haven't really been going down at least we're 13 points clear. Yes, we'll maybe be a wee bit from time to time, but I think that's good. But do you think some of the reaction has been over the top or maybe justified?
I honestly think it's just. Don't get me wrong. Look, I've seen people saying I'm on the forums and all that, and I've seen people saying that we should be trying to talk Callum McGregor into retiring at the end of the season. How you come to that conclusion, and again, where he wasn't even fucking on the park or on the dugout, I don't understand. So, in that sense, it's went a wee bit OTT. But by and large, look, I don't think it's a knee-jerk reaction. As we've said umpteen times, that's the last 3 games that's gone by where it's been, by and large, the same performance. The cup final, I would include, as I say, obviously you win the cup final, nobody really, as Gav says, the history books don't show the performance, but we obviously bear it in mind, the Ibrox game, and the only thing that I could get back to, as I said earlier, was a Postecoglou game at Ibrox where we get battered after the split, and that was
unacceptable, fucking unacceptable.
See, I'm kind of the opposite, mate. After the game, I was kind of out it within an hour because we played the reserves. We had the cup final coming up in a couple of weeks. The league was done and dusted. The league's all but done and dusted this year. But it's, as I say, the folk that's coming out and saying, well, 13 points clear, it's going to be done, we're on for a treble. For me, that's burying your head in the sand. Before the game, the amount of times I heard people saying, it's all about laying down a marker for next season. And look, maybe in the grand scheme of things, that is what it is. Maybe more so for Rangers because, like, obviously they're obviously the chasing side. So
it's never unacceptable, never acceptable to be beaten 3-0 at Ibrox. Never.
Aye, no, but I just mean in the grand scheme of things. Like the grand scheme of things, it was a one-off performance. We went there, played the reserves. As I say, I was kind of done and dusted with it after an hour or two. I was out it pretty quickly. This one hurts a bit more because there's been lessons to be learned for the last 2 performances, and yesterday showed that we weren't willing to learn the lessons. Missing your captain and missing one of your starting centre backs obviously makes it a bit more difficult, but it was inexcusable, the performances. It wasn't. Genuinely, I mean, who would you give pass marks to for that yesterday? Navrotski at a push, possibly Maida. That would be it for me.
There wasn't a minute to be fair.
Carter Vickers, Schmeichel, it was an absolute bomb scare for the first half. Johnson should have been hooked after half an hour, never mind half time. Navrotski, I thought, was all right considering. Carter Vickers, to me, as I said yesterday, he looks so labelled, and it's not just yesterday. I think it looks as if he's almost playing through an injury. I think there's maybe something going on there because the drop off on him has been a bit mad, to be honest. But
he wasn't great yesterday.
Even Schlupp, and it's some. I know, obviously, I've said in the group chat, I've not fully understood this clamour for Schlupp, and I am not Greg Taylor's biggest fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I think, as I say, Schlupp benefits massively from simply his name not being Greg Taylor.
James, there was a point in the second half where we were kind of under the cosh, playing out for the back, and Schlupp took the ball at left back, and he pivot through his marker, and he pivot through his midfield marker as well, and then he managed to kind of like break through the lines and make like another pass to another midfielder or a forward, and just that motion of his physicality, being able to power through two markers. I agree with you that he never had the best game. Like he was wrong for the first goal that Raskin scored. Raskin should never ever scored that goal for the opening one, but just that kind of passage of play that Schlupp done. It was a reminder that Greg Taylor will never be capable of that. And I'm not a Greg Taylor hater, and I know that you're not a Greg Taylor hater, and you want the best for Celtic, and we want the best left back for Celtic, and Schlupp is probably not going to be the guy because we're bringing in Kieran Tierney. But it was just a reminder of, despite the difficulties, the difficulties that he had in that game, that he had the ability, the presence, the athleticism to power past two people. He had confidence with his technical ability to run past two people that Greg Taylor would never, ever, ever have been able to exhibit. And I guess that's just kind of an indicator of what we can maybe expect for next season. Can I ask Franny? Franny, out of the three midfielders, who was your best midfielder? Hatate, Engels, and McKibben.
I mean, I would say Hatate, but is it really?
I
think he was. It's one. I mean, James. I'm a big Engels fan, and I do like him. I think we've got a player on our hands, and I think he will come good. Luke McCowan, really like as well. I think he's a Celtic fan. He's came. I say these latter years. He's 27. I think he's 26, 27. Came for Dundee. Probably, maybe not thought this kind of move wouldn't have came about for him. But I thought he was. I wouldn't say the game passed him by as such because it was always looking for the ball. In fairness to the guy, he always taken it in and made himself available. But he gave away about. It felt like he gave the ball away about 20 times in the first 10 minutes. Every time he had it, he seemed to give it away. But as I say, it almost sounds patronising. He didn't hide for the game. He always looked for it. Whereas I felt Engels, it felt like he kind of hid for the game, and Engels showed a lot more urgency when he was winning wee free kicks and he was trying to take it quick, and it almost, I say I'm a big Engels fan, but it almost felt for me that it was giving the impression that he was doing more than he actually was in the game. If you're trying to take a quick free kick and things like that. Hatate for me looked like he tried to take the game. It looked like he tried to make things happen. I'm maybe overthinking it, the fact that he's got, and maybe the fact that he scored is probably helping him win that, but I wouldn't say it's the biggest compliment Rio Hatate will get, saying he was the best midfielder at yesterday's performance, Gavin.
Can I do a quick fire question to young James, little James?
Oh dear.
Right, okay, so we'll try and go over our hurt of the Glasgow Derby defeat. However, we're obviously 13 points ahead, so we just need 3 games, I believe. Three wins.
4, I think it is now. 4 is now.
4?
Aye.
8
games left. You're 8 games left.
Fair enough. Right, okay. Little James, what's your favourite formation?
I think everything's 4-3-3 these days, isn't it? Some variation, so go 4-3-3.
That's really uninspiring.
That's boring. I'll go, right, we'll go full Mike Bassett, 4-4-2.
4-4-2. Good. You're pretending to be a 90s man here. Right, okay. What's your earliest Celtic memory?
Going down to the Reebok for a testimonial and meeting.
The Bolton Stadium?
Aye, Bolton. It was a Bolton player's testimonial. I want to say it was Jimmy Phillips, but I stand to be corrected on that. I think I would have been 4 or 5 at the time. and that's the first one. Always remember we were outside the Grun. Henrik Larsson was there. Craig Burley at the time, for some strange reason, was my favourite player, and it was old wind-on cameras. So, in fact, the pictures behind me, it's me, my dad, and Henrik Larsson, and then I was buzzing. The next one lying in the line was Craig Burley, and I'm up my dad's shoulders waiting to get a picture, and the spool ran out for the Craig Burley picture, so I never got one. But no, that's probably my earliest.
That's good. Right. Who was your boyhood hero? Would it be
Henrik Larsson? There's an hard boring answer for you, Henrik Larsson.
Henrik Larsson. Okay. Who is your unsung hero?
In current or in history? Well, general.
In general.
In general, for Celtic, I'd go Paul Hartley and Barry Robson.
Okay. Who's your toughest player?
Wanyama.
Who's your toughest Rangers opponent?
The one that I always hated coming up against, because I necessarily thought he was a good player, but he was always a dangerous wee bastard and tended to score, was Nacho Novo.
Toughest Rangers opponent, Marco. Nacho Novo.
Nacho Novo. I just always hated coming up against him. He always get chances, I felt.
And your lowest moment as a Celtic fan?
Probably the COVID season. Obviously the way it played out in terms of the league, but just everything else that was going on at the club at the time. And obviously,
what age were you for Helicopter Sunday?
2
years older.
What year was that? 2005, 4, 5. So I would have been about what?
Because I knew it was. Was it Strachan? Strachan, wasn't it?
No, you would have been a teenager, James. You would have been about
12, 13. But overall, I'd probably still go for the COVID season, just as a full package. That full season, considering how it started, was the highs. The Hamilton game at Parkhead. I think Edouard scored a hat-trick, and I think we were going to canter this, and then obviously we all know how it turned out.
Right, your best victory against the Rangers?
3-0 nighttime game, Hattati. No, just aye.
All of them, aye.
That one, aye.
It's a night game, innit? It's a night game.
I've got my own reasons for that, and I know even just the game, but that game be a distance, to be honest.
It's probably one of mine as well, but it was my second daughter was born that day as well, so that's what Kenny Hodds a wee
really,
bit. Aye.
Brilliant. Well done.
She was actually born that morning. The weird thing was, Gav, sorry to total jump on the quickfire thing, so she was due a few days after it. She was due round about the 8th or 9th, I think. So obviously I was sitting thinking, the deal was with the missus, it was, well, if the Wayne's not here, you can't hear a drink for obvious reasons. They might need rushed to the hospital. So obviously she went into, like, her waters broke the very early hours of the second. And as soon as we went in, got told she wasn't far away. And then the hospital midwife was like, so how long you want to stay in for? She was like, oh, get out as quick as I can. So if we had the baby and we were back home, I was given free rein because essentially I was off for 2 weeks paternity leave. I was allowed to have a drink that night, with being the football. So obviously I'm sitting there thinking it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's a great time. The Wayne came about 7:30. I'm like, I might be tired of the fight buzz round, but it's just all came to plan. And then we're sitting there 5 o'clock and we're still no out, and I'm like 6 o'clock, and I'm like, I hadn't ate either because my missus actually tested for COVID in the hospital, so we kind of got isolated in a maternity ward in a rain-wee room. I was not allowed to go out. If I went out the door, I was not allowed back in. Right. And then they brought food in. Obviously, my partner was getting food, but the midwife, I got caught eating some of her food off the midwife, and she went nuts at me. And my missus was like, I gave him it. He's not allowed out here to get food. She was like, well, and so the missus was, it got to about 7 o'clock, and the missus was like, no, I was itching at the bit at this point. I was not very considerate, shall we say, in the current situation. Desperate to get here for the football. And so it got to about 7 o'clock and she was like, go and get something to eat, go home, I'll give you a phone if I'm getting out. And I was like, right, no worries. So went and just grabbed a McDonald's on the way home, straight to the pub, phoned her at half time and said, what is happening? She went, I'm not getting out to the Mora round about midday. And I was like, all right, no bother. And I straight into the pub, that was it, on the beers there and then, slept on the couch and everything. It's great.
Good one, Franny. Good. By the way, that's an underrated one for Maestro. The Basel getting put. Was it Hakan Yakin? Who was like the maestro in that game? Pardon the pun for Maestro. Was
that the game Momo Silla scored with shin? It was a volley and it comes in and he absolutely shins it, but it's right in the corner.
Probably.
I've got no idea, man. I've got no idea, but
I can remember his goal against St Johnstone. It was a mad one, too.
Basel were not a bad team because I think they put out Liverpool in the next.
It was going to keep out. That was what led into Seville, wasn't it? That was them putting us out of Champions League, which strapped us down to the UEFA run, wasn't it?
I think you're right. Right. What was the last question I asked you? Was it toughest player or toughest?
3-0 the best game, I think.
Derby game.
Best victory against Rangers. Okay, young James, little James, young James. Where will Celtic be in 10 years? I guess it's where the financial landscape will be. Does that
depends, doesn't it? Depends really on where we want to be. The money's there to spend it. So if we go in terms of boardroom level, the way we've went.
But you never know. It's not where we want it to be. We've got the 49ers taking over everything, you know.
Well, we'll see with a bigger stadium, better training facilities, and an extra star on the badge. You'll go for that. There we go.
Very ambitious. Very, very ambitious. Another star on the badge. Okay, so Franny, I'm going to turn to you. Wasted talent.
Derek Reardon.
I was going to talk about yourself being the next Craig Bellamy, but I don't want to do that. I'm sorry.
Derek Reardon, maybe.
I agree.
Tony Watt, I think, is the only answer to that one. I thought that boy was going to be absolutely world class.
See, Derek Riordan, whenever he was spoken to about Cy Ferry, he said that he thought that if he was given the same game time as what Henrik Larsson was, he would have got the same goal return. He had that confidence about him.
As a sub, that he always seemed to get involved and score goals. I had my season ticket back when we had the type of guys in that as well. And he was some finisher. But there was all the mad rumours that he was pumping Strachan's daughter and things like that. And him and Strachan clearly didn't get on for some reason. But for me, it would maybe be dead. I take the Tony Watt one as well, because listening to Open Goal as well, all ranting real about how good Tony Watt should have been.
Right, little James. Who is your 3 dinner guests? Doesn't have to be football related, world related.
That's a good question, Gav. I would go. Aye, I would go. Henrik Larsson's probably the tap-in one. I think he'd take care of my quota, and then I'd go Billy Connolly.
Sorry, Henrik Larsson?
Henrik Larsson, Billy Connolly.
Billy Connolly would be a good one.
And I can't even think now.
Okay, can I ask you, why would you Henrik Larsson, Billy Connolly? Who would be better batter, Henrik Larsson, like he was brilliant for Celtic, but
who would be funnier out of Henrik Larsson and Billy Connolly? I don't know. It's quite a tough thing to answer that, isn't it? I mean, the faithful DVDs, but I only found one of them funny. Third one would be, I don't know. Who did I probably go for somebody that I like growing up. Always like Del Piero, Shevchenko. That kind of. I don't mean to be a dick.
I don't mean to be a dick, but Henrik Larsson was brilliant as a footballer.
I was not a great interview.
No, but he just sounds like he's always stoned whenever you talk to him.
Aye.
Well, different strokes for different folks. Who would your three be? I'm flipping it back on you.
Aye. Henrik Larsson. See it.
I like Connolly.
See, if you were going to do it from a Celtic thing,
aye.
From the Celtic thing, it'd either be Tommy Burns or Bertie Auld. I think if you were going to do a Celtic thing, that would be that. But from a pure weird kind of non-Celtic thing, I would be interested to hear Machiavelli, the kind of Italian philosopher, if you want to call him that. And I don't know, I'm thinking like a musician, but if you think about a musician, you want to hear a musician play, you don't want to hear him talk, you don't want to hear an actor talk. Maybe you want to hear like a war hero. A war hero would be more interesting talking. Machiavelli for a philosophy, maybe Tommy Burns or Bertie Auld for a Celtic football perspective. Machiavelli, that's a pure weird.
Isn't happy with your choices.
He's fucked off, isn't he? He's fucked off. He's well pissed off. No, I can't think of a third one. You think about Beethoven. Beethoven was brilliant in music, but what the fuck? What are you going to talk to him about? You know what I mean? Tell me about the keys. I don't understand music keys. I don't know, man. I don't know. Franny, I can't think of anybody. So I'll take you, Franny. You and Tommy Burns and Machiavelli. Until I can think of anybody better. I'll take Franny because I know you and you'll keep things all right.
Apparently, I'm his first guest to dinner here, James. Didn't think anybody, so I'm his first guest.
Well, I'll invite Ross to mine then. I'll stick out the hand of friendship and then we can have a scrap after it. So,
what else was I going to ask? Okay, little James, wasted talent.
Tony Watt.
Franny.
Riordan still.
Riordan. Okay. The greatest Celtic captain.
I mean, the answer's Billy McNeil in it, but if you're talking obviously my lifetime, then it's got to be Scott Brown.
Same with me. Even though I'm but I'd probably have to say Scott Brown for myself as well. Is that you done, Gav? I thought you had more questions there.
Do you concur with little James?
I would have to go Scott Brown as well.
Scott Brown. Okay, and one of the questions that we have asked in the past was, if you were going into a game that you have to win, who would you rather in your midfield, Cal McGregor or Scott Brown?
Scott Brown. All day. I don't even think it's close, if I'm being honest. I asked this a couple of weeks ago and I was surprised with the answers.
Everybody was going for fucking Cal McGregor.
I couldn't get away with that, to be totally
honest. And then I had to remind people, by the way, you said depends on who we're playing.
Right. Scott Brown for me all day. Doesn't matter who we're playing.
To the people in the comments, if you had to go into the game of your life, a do or die, who would you rather, Cal McGregor or Scott Brown in your midfield?
Two for Brown and two for Scott Brown. I mean, I'm totally contradicting myself because I would go Callum McGregor. I mean, I've just said Scott Brown's the greatest captain, but I would pump for Callum McGregor in the game. So absolutely contradicting it, I guess. But that's where I would go with.
Bruni.
It's McGregor's no winning this. I think that's the consensus.
What about if, like you said, like people in our group chat were saying, well, it depends on who you're playing. So I don't know. Is it a technical game of football? Is it a physical game of football?
Well, I'm picking a technical game, so I can justify Callum McGregor.
I'm picking a boxing match, so there we go.
James, who's your favourite boxer of all time?
Fuck. Gotta go for a really weird one, but I always used to like watching Enzo Maccarinelli. I know it's not a big name as such, like a massive name in comparison. Either him or Jake Paul, probably. Sorry?
My dad's cousin is a boxing referee. He was a boxing referee, and he was a referee for Maccarinelli for I don't know if it was like a cruiserweight world title, but my dad's cousin was a boxing referee for Maccarinelli's big fight.
Right.
Aye. Well, he's not Italian. He's like British, but he's obviously an Italian name. I can't. Was he fight? I can't mind who he was fighting, but aye.
I'm sure he fought Roy Jones Jr. Towards the end of his career when Roy Jones Jr. was pretty past it. But I know it's not a big name, but I always mind fighting against David Hay and all that, and I used to enjoy watching him. But apart from him, then I don't know, because at one point it would have been Tyson Fury, but it's no way anymore.
Remember like Joe Kilzaghe?
Aye.
Kilzaghe was brilliant.
Aye, was definitely.
49-0, Kilzaghe.
Aye, Kilzaghe was undefeated.
It's mad record. Mad record. He fought some top guys as well. I've not seen it yet.
I think Eubank Junior's got him on absolute strings, by the way. I think he's been.
I want Conor Benn to win, but I think Eubank Junior's got to do it.
I would love. I don't fucking care, man. I don't care. I don't like either of them. Like maybe a wee bit. I like more Eubank Junior, but it's all about money. Like Eubank Junior has built his career about money rather than his talent. I know.
But it's all just built on their family's rivalry, isn't it? Their dad's rivalry.
I think Eubank Junior's come across, for what I've seen at the press conference and then that thing with Piers Morgan, I think Eubank Junior's come across really, really good. While the fucking Conor Benn's getting off his seat. I think he's a fanny, but I think he's got them on strings for this.
Right, Franny, you've hosted a fantastic podcast tonight.
For the first half an hour.
Sorry.
Oh, you're okay, Kath.
No, Franny, genuinely. We're closing to an hour and 50 minutes. Franny, it's been a terrible weekend, but we've still got a smile on our face. And I'm glad that we've got to kind of like.
It's like therapy a wee bit, talking about
exactly.
The result, if you like.
That's what it is. If you don't have people to talk to, then you're just going to hold up that bad energy inside.
Yes, that's what it is, mate. That's all it is.
But over to you. But you've been magnificent tonight, and thank you. Genuinely, thank you for hosting tonight. Because as I said beforehand, I had nothing constructive or positive to say about tonight. So
you cheered us up with your quick fire round, which has lasted about half an hour. It always kind of happens, but no, I tell you, like they're more saying top banter. That's just what we try and do. We're going to be here, win, lose or draw. We tends to win a lot, so it's one of them. We just try. I think we've all been pretty good in the fact that I have liked the fact that the majority of the conversation, especially for yourself, James, hasn't went round the whole we're 13 points clear and all that. We've been honest and no just tried to use a wee stupid coping mechanism. It's been we're 13 points because we're going to win the treble. It's clearly not a one-off game. It's like we touched on. We've lost 3 goals against them in the last 3 games. It's
a pattern of behaviour that we need to rectify.
I think the one thing that we want to know before we go actually off is, Gav, what the fuck kind of lager are you drinking, by the way?
No,
Is it mixed with de-icer anyway?
I had some red wine to start with, and then I had some Estrella.
Oh, yes, Estrella chaser.
Estrella's nice. I like an Estrella. But no, let's not talk anyway.
Oh, by the way, that's a topper. That's a topper of a compliment. Can we have some parliamentary procedure, please, for Chris Eubank?
I don't even know what that is.
Eubank and Ben were having like a get-go. And Ben was like fucking giving the verbal. And Eubank said, can we have some parliamentary procedure? Because he couldn't get a word in. And Nigel Ben was giving it blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And Chris Eubank was saying, can we have some parliamentary procedure, please?
He was doing his Arnold Schwarzenegger impression that day. Right, anyway, we better get off and make sure Gav gets up the road all right, so...
Aye, and let's not talk about the football and get ourselves all the rest of the game, but no, thanks to both of you for making it a breeze at nearly 2 hours. It's not felt like 2 hours, it's been good. I've liked your input, Gav, even though I said I would host, you've done a good hosting job tonight, Gav. So well done to you. And James, you've been on once, twice, about 4 times at one point, so... It's been the usual shambles of a podcast, but it's what we do. It's how we roll. We just go with the flow and try and make a bad day good. And let's say we're all smiling, but
get to the chopper.
That would have been better if you'd done that in a Chris Eubank voice. But
I thought that was fucking Nigel Ben in the room there, man.
But no. As James says, we'll kind of wrap up there, and I don't think we're doing one on Friday or Monday just with international break. Gav will need maybe 2 weeks to get his hangover, I think. I'm joking, Gav. I'm joking. You're a good guy. You're a good guy. But no, that's as I say, we're off the back of a derby defeat. We move on. I say we've got an international break. We just look forward to the league football coming back round and try and get this league wrapped up in the treble. So for tonight, I shall bid you all farewell and hail, hail.